I don't know how good or bad, whatever, but, screw it, we'll do it live. Bill O'Reilly once said infamously. My pizza just got here, so we got to do the podcast, and I can eat pizza. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into NASCAR By The Numbers. As you heard, my pizza just got here, but that does not matter at this point because we are here to talk about NASCAR. Just got home a little while ago from my knees have been terrible my whole life. When you're big and try to move, knees hurt. So, we threw a little bit of baseball, threw a little bit of football. Now we're chilling. You're ready to talk racing. Armany. Armany originally had this grand dynamic plan of I'm never going to work Thursdays. Thursdays work every single Thursday. So, it happens.
Hey. Last week I did, and let's just say I'm working on something to potentially make almost 20 an hour. So you got to do what you got to do.
Hey, you have your reasons. We'll give you that. All right, you have your reasons. So we're not going to knock the we're not going to blame the player. You know what I mean? You're just playing the game how it's supposed to be played. So, but anyways, obviously we are here to talk NASCAR. So we did have a race this weekend. Unfortunately, I did not get to watch it. So I'm personally not going to be able to give too many details about the actual race. I'm probably going to also miss a portion of Vegas. We will see. We got Matt in here, our Canadian friend, always supporting us. He's in here tonight. So we're going to start off. Obviously, we had Homestead. And again, I didn't get to watch a ton of it. I heard it was a solid race. I heard it was a pretty good race. Chris Buescher won a stage, so that usually would tell you something out of the ordinary happened. Did you get to watch the race yourself?
I watched the race. It was a really good race.
Yeah, so what would you say? I mean, because, again, I was at the dirt track doing a job, so I wasn't flaking on NASCAR. I was at a grassroots racetrack doing my job. So some social media there, having some fun. Did it seem like just a really different cast of characters? Were there actual guys making passes? It kind of described to me what made it a pretty good race to kick things off.
It was a very, obviously, different cast of characters. Hamlin was struggling, obviously, at the start at the back. Kyle Busch wasn't really up there. Reddick and Larson, they weren't up there for a good portion of the race. Had a lot of comers and goers. I was talking about it on Johnny on the Track on his podcast that for one reason I think Buescher was so good at the beginning and fell off at the end. It's because I think they just didn't do a good job at setting their car up. They probably set their car up more for the daytime than in the night. So I think that really had a lot to do with the comers and goers. That's why you saw guys like Byron start to show up late in the race, and you had guys like Buescher really early.
Well, I think Homestead's proven, and we already have Danny in here asking us, is Logano going to win Vegas? Come on now. That's segment number 2. All right. But, I think Homestead has been probably one of the better intermediates, and I'm just as guilty as a lot of people saying, the finale's kind of getting boring here. It's kind of getting old. And then now you watch the races and you're like, why are we not having the finale at Homestead? Like, why did we move it, So we'll see. It's been putting on some great racing. Now, I will say Vegas, again, we'll preview it next segment. Vegas has been having some really good racing as well as of late. We'll hold off on that for a minute. But, the biggest storyline, obviously, walking away is William Byron scores his second career Cup win. Who would have had on their scorecards that the first 3 winners of the year would be Michael McDowell, Eric Jones, and William Byron? Combined now have 4 career Cup wins.
Hey. You still living in 2020.
I guess.
I want to give you some time to realize what you just said.
Who? I know.
You said Michael McDowell, Eric Jones.
Eric Jones, oh God. Christopher Bell. Dude, I'm so out of it right now. I'm so out of it. And it's weird not watching NASCAR this past weekend. I'm so out of it. No excuse. Christopher Bell. God, that was rough right there. The 20 car. Who would have had that? Really, who had Eric Jones? I mean, who really had Eric Jones in the 43 car winning?
Clearly.
But yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy start to the year. I'm telling you, there's 2011 vibes all over the place, and maybe even crazier. I mean, I would assume we're gonna have another winner this weekend, so that'll be pretty cool. But William Byron wins his second Cup race. All it takes to make a 24 fast is apparently put a rainbow on it. What say you? What did you think watching William Byron go and win his second career Cup race?
I was more impressed with how he just dominated the race. He led 105 to 267 laps. Like, towards the end, he just put on the clinic. One stage, two, and then just drove away after. So
Right.
I think that has a lot to do with, we saw a little bit of this at the beginning of last year. Not so much, but I think that just shows, it's like you pair Byron up with a crew chief that he has experience with, and it just clicked. So I think they just got the setup right. Obviously, like you said, with, Chevrolet working together, it's clearly paying dividends. I mean, they got their win in like the third. They just won their race, first race of the season. Instead of taking like 9 or 8 races, it just took them 3. So
I think you mentioned a big thing there that I think a lot of people had kind of forgotten about, and that is Rudy Fugle. It's crazy to think that we kind of, NASCAR news moves so quickly around the garage and just in general. You kind of forget about news and notes that have happened throughout the time of the sport. And here we are. You kind of forget that Rudy Fugle, who's been arguably the most successful truck crew chief in the last handful of years, has won with pretty much everybody. I got my nephew Victor in here, so always props to little Victor. He tries to watch us every single week. Rudy Fugle has just been a great mind on the pit box, dude. I'm telling you, you can't sit there and say somebody's going to be the next Ray Evernham or Chad Knaus or somebody, but the dude wins with everything he touches. And I said it, I tweeted after the race, just like Drake said, like a sprained ankle boy, Rudy Fugle ain't nothing to play with. All right. And this could be a special combination. William Byron is really comfortable with him, won a lot of races with him, should have won the Truck Series championship with him. And apparently they're picking up right where they left off. And here we are. And they could be a team. William Byron, we have talked about it for a year or two now. It desperately needs to flip a switch because he has not been the prodigy he was thought to be. And don't get me wrong, there are natural reasons for that. I mean, he was rushed up to the Cup Series really, really young. I mean, the dude's like 11 years old. William Byron has reasons to not have won 10 races at this point. But you get into year 3, 4, 5, and if you're not having the success, at some point you have to draw the line. And I think this year could be a big year, clearly. They've had a rough luck to start off the year, the first 2 weeks, and then they go out and dominate. I got to listen to about the last 80 laps on the radio coming home. And, I mean, all you heard was William Byron. Tyler Reddick tried. I heard Reddick was making a run.
Reddick, like, he went from 12 seconds back to 3 seconds back in like 20 laps.
Ridiculous. And another guy with a good run is how about Michael Mcdowell now going 3 top 10s in a row?
I talked about it where it's like Homestead is a sneaky good track for Mcdowell. He finished top 10 there in 2016 where JJ won his 7th title and the second Levine family racing car. And this one, Levine family racing, was partnered up with RCR. So I'm more than when you look at like overall Michael McDowell, you're like, what the hell is going on? This man's got a win. He's got 3 top 10s. What the hell is going on? But then when you really think about it, it kind of makes sense. I mean, McDowell's a good play racer. He's a good road racer, and he's good at Homestead.
It's a guy that, I said a year or two ago, at what point does front row kind of move on? Because McDowell's kind of just been there for 4 or 5 years now. But, at this point, he's clearly earning his keep. I mean, he's clearly doing great things. And so, I'm surprised they didn't move off of him a year or two ago. But clearly it's paying dividends now. You win the Daytona 500. You're having a great start of the season. I think they're 4th in points. I mean, they're having a great start of the year. And just kudos to them. So, good starting position is really helping them out. But I don't want to talk too much about Mick Driver on Twitter, if you want to follow him. We'll talk with him a little bit more later. But moving forward, obviously, we have Las Vegas this weekend. Vegas has, as of recent, and don't get me wrong, it is purely based off of this package, has really given some solid races. It is a manufactured sort of excitement. They've got the fields kind of bunched up. Restarts have been absolute madness at Las Vegas. Restarts are legit video games come to life at Las Vegas. We've seen drama. I mean, we've seen big favorites. It's like every time we go there, there's 2 or 3 favorites that blow a tire, get caught up in a wreck, have damage. I mean, I think last year Chase Elliott had problems, and there was a couple other guys that had problems. In the playoffs, guys always have problems at Vegas. So It'll be interesting to see what kind of race we get. I'm excited for it. I'm probably going to miss the start of the race. I may have some wedding things I have to take care of. I don't know yet. And there's a small possibility I may be at a racetrack that day. I do not know yet. But worst case, I'm still going to see the back half of the Cup race, which I'm excited for. But obviously, we wanted to preview it. And we wanted to look at it, something me and you haven't really done. I don't know why we haven't done this, because we completely have access to this at our fingers every single week. So I'm going to read you the top 5 average finishes right now. In the last 10 races, 2 of these drivers only have 9 starts. So the last 9 to 10 races at Las Vegas. Number 1, Brad Keselowski with a 4.6 average finish in the last 10 races. All right. Joey Logano is second with a 5.6 average finish. Martin Truex Jr. is third with a 6.8 average finish. Ryan Blaney fourth, 9.7, and Kyle Busch fifth at a 9.9. You look at your last 5 race winners. You've got Keselowski, Logano, Truex, Logano, and Kirk Busch. And so you kind of look at that. Penske has been really, really dominant. What are you looking for as a race fan this weekend that maybe is a different storyline besides Penske is probably going to be up front for this race?
I think we're going to see a lot of close racing. I think it's going to be very similar to how Homestead was. You're going to have that one driver kind of just pull away. But with that added drama, like you said, there always seems to be an issue at Las Vegas. So we're probably going to see Homestead with that added drama, like let's say the leader cuts another tire like happened last year, or, another debris caution comes out, another phantom caution. So that's what I think we're going to see coming out of Las Vegas. I don't think we're going to see another just absolute domination from a driver. Like with this package, this doesn't allow it to happen, especially at Las Vegas. So I think we're going to have a very interesting race on our hands.
And I think this weekend, I know we say it every week, this weekend can answer a lot of questions. But I think this weekend especially can answer a lot of questions for 2 reasons. One, there's a handful of drivers that have been struggling or seemingly struggling that this is, like, if they can't turn it around here, I don't know what to say for them. You look at a guy like Ryan Blaney, who I just said has the 4th best average finish. Now, he has 9 starts compared to the field. But his last 5 finishes have been 5th, 22nd, 5th, 11th, and 7th. He's competed for remember, I think this was the race last year he should have won. Is this not the race where him and Bowman just decided to let's pit randomly?
Yep.
Right. This is a race they literally threw away last year that they should have won. And Blaney has had a terrible start of the year. We'll talk about him later. 24th in points, just abysmal start to the season for that team. If they can't have a solid weekend and show speed, major red flags. Matt Benedetto, I think I heard somewhere, I think he's finished second in the last 2 races at Las Vegas. The Benedetto, if he can't turn it around, at what point do we give up on the he needs to be in the 2-car narrative if they can't turn it around? Which I've been pounding that to the ground here the last couple of days, so I'll stop on that. But, I think for those guys, I think there's a feeling that Hendrick is going to be really, really strong. You have a feeling that William Byron maybe is going to be really, really strong again. Kyle Larson, what is Chase Elliott going to look like? Elliott finished the worst of all 4 Hendrick. Clearly, Chase Elliott is the weak link at Hendrick Motorsports based off last week. I think there's a lot of questions like that to answer. Michael McDowell, every week there's going to be a Michael McDowell spotlight. And this team continue to do it because a lot of it has been starting position, and that's been important, in pit position, pit selection, and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be really, really intriguing. Obviously, somebody's asked me, what is your key for this weekend? I said one word, and that's Penske. Look for Penske. They're going to be hard. I'm surprised they didn't put Austin Cindric in a car for this weekend because they run so well here. It would have been the perfect chance for him to be in a fast car, know you're probably going to run up front, and get experience at 1.5 miles in this package, even though the package technically is going to not really matter starting next year. We'll see. So with that said, going into it, the 2-car talk is ridiculous at this point. Thank you. Thank you, Harry Loomis. I appreciate that. We're going to get into our race picks here. So, Armani, give you first dibs, even though we can both pick the same driver. We've done it before. We've both been wrong before. We've both been right before. What say you? You're putting money on the line. Who are you picking for Las Vegas this weekend?
I think it's going to be Hendrick versus not Hendrick versus Hendrick versus Penske.
I like that narrative.
However, I'm not picking any of those teams to win the race. I'm picking a driver from the team I just mentioned that I didn't mean to mention. I think the driver of the 19 car, Martin Truex Jr., goes to victory lane in Las Vegas.
Martin is ran like quietly fast to start this year. Everybody knows it's Martin. Martin's going to be consistent. I've said I don't think he's going to be what he was without Cole Hearn, but you still have a feeling that team's going to win a couple of races this year. They've been really, really fast. Has Martin? Yeah, I guess I know I was about to ask a stupid question. He won here 2 years ago. He won the fall race in 2019. So, Martin's clearly gotten it done here before. It'll be intriguing. I really have a weird feeling about the first narrative you said about Hendrick and Penske. I have a really gut feeling that's going to be what happens. I think those two teams could really duke it out. I am going to pick a Team Penske driver, and I am going to go with Joey Logano making it 3 spring races in a row. Now, if you had to guess, I don't know if you looked at it. Hopefully you didn't. If you looked at it, fine. Just nothing. Where do you think Joey Logano is in points?
He's second.
Oh, I had no clue. It feels like Joey Logano has had a terrible start to the year. Gets junked in the 500 on the last lap, which you still end up finishing like 12th. Even though he did finish second at the road course, you kind of forget about it because you're caught up in Christopher Bell, Eric Jones's cup win. And then this past week, I didn't get to watch the race, but Logano ran terrible. But he's still sitting there in the top 5 in points, which is crazy to think about. But this has always been a really, really good race for Joey. There's been a lot of controversy in this race in the past with Joey. I don't know about the whole 3-peat kind of. I don't like those vibes, but I picked Joey a couple of days ago. I'm going to stick with it. Usually him and Brad duke it out at some point to win this race. Ryan Blaney, you would think, is going to get involved at some point. But I'm going to go with Joey Logano. And you have Martin Truex Jr., so we will see who wins the damn war this weekend between the two of us. So now to get to our final segment. We knew that tonight was going to be kind of a quick show and kind of a quick breakdown of everything. Now it's going to be here for 3.5 hours, and we'll go to bed at midnight and, everything. So we have a little bit of game we want to play called Fakin It or Makin It. And pretty much what this is, we've got 5 drivers we want to highlight. And these are drivers that have either had a kind of an unsuspecting good start of the year or an unsuspecting rough start to the year. And the whole point of it is me and Armany we're going to talk about them for a second, and we are going to pick either they're faking it or they're making it. So I'm going to read off the credentials. Armany's going to give his answer and tell us why. Then I will respond with my answer and tell us why. And again, faking it is based off of we're going to see something different out of this driver. This isn't a really good indication of where they're at. They're going to flip the script on us. Making it means not necessarily making the playoffs, making it victory lane, but making it means this is going to continue. Whatever their trajectory is going to stay moving forward. So first driver on the list, Mr. Michael Mcdowell, your Daytona 500 winner. He has 3 consecutive top 10s. Him and Kevin Harvick are the only 2 drivers that have finished top 10 in every single race this year. He has a 5th place average finish and sits 4th in points. He is higher than points than your defending Cup Series champion. Now I'm going to give a caveat. When I say faking it or making it here, I don't necessarily mean he's going to stay 4th in points. But is Michael Mcdowell going to stay competitive? Or is he going to eventually be the Michael McDowell of old? So what say you, Armany, faking it or making it?
I'm going to go with faking it because you don't know. Front row has really never been in this position. I mean, the last time they were in this position was 2016 with Chris Buescher, and he barely snuck into the top 30 in points. McDowell, he's a veteran, a lot more experienced driver, but we just never seen front row in that position. Now, I think they have a great advantage. I think they have a lot of things to take advantage of, more road courses this year. Starting position, obviously, for staying top 5 in points. Let's see if he can still, hang on to that. But just you have so many good teams behind him that are just going to rack up all the wins. They're just going to do better, obviously, because they're in better equipment. So, I don't know. We might see McDowell maybe stay in the top 20, but to stay top 5, top 10, 3 straight top 10s, I can't see. I can't trust front row.
Right. I think you have to look at things. It's hard because it's a good story. You want to see stuff like this happen where you get these strings. But I'm also a guy that watched Paul Menard be 4th in points after 5 races, and you're like, Paul Menard's going to make the playoffs. He completely misses the playoffs, and this is when they still had collective point. Like Paul Menard would still fall out of the postseason. And so I've seen this happen before. You see drivers kind of get on this momentum run. And a lot of it has been this year. Let's be honest. In my personal opinion, now the Daytona Road Course is kind of a caveat because they blew all their track position in the first corner and fought all day and came back and had a good day. So they do have some token of, they've went out there and proved a lot of people wrong early. I remember tweeting in the first lap of the road course, well, Michael McDowell went back to being Michael McDowell, and he shut me up, and I think he finished 7th in that race. But at some point, I still feel firm believing if we had qualifying, I don't think this run happens. They've had really good pit selection. Being high in points is helping with starting positions. Going to help again this weekend. My fear is that eventually they're going to have that one rough race. And when you go from starting 6th every week to starting 15th to starting 25th, that's a major difference. And eventually you're not going to have the car every single week to just battle your way into the top 10. And so I would agree with you. I think Fakin It, obviously they're going to be in the playoffs. We know that. They've earned that mark by winning the Daytona 500. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if this is a team that can make it out of the first round. So I'm going to go with Fakin It. I agree with you. Been a great story, but I think eventually, maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but in the next month, we're going to see them finally come down to earth a bit and be front row, like we're used to going. Nowhere near the front row. But anyways, second driver is a driver that has been quietly good this year. He started off the year by teasing his retirement. So we don't know what's happening. His finishes so far this year are 22nd, 4th, and 8th. This driver is Kirk Bush, driver of the number 1 Monster Energy Ganassi Racing Chevy. He ran top 5 all day at Homestead before having a vibration, had to come pit. Came all the way back to finish 8th after being a lap down, unlapping himself and battling all throughout the day. He's been consistently up front, and he currently sits 6th in points. So this is a guy that even now a lot of people really haven't talked about, but every week you're kind of like, I think that's Kirk Bush. So what say you? Kirk Bush, Fakin It or Makin It?
Kirk Bush is making it. We've seen this. We saw it in 2019. We saw it in 2020. Kirk Bush has always been that kind of driver. He's never going to, he's not – I don't think he's going back to that, just going to dominate every race, always be up front. But he's always that consistent, 4th to, 12th kind of driver. And that's pretty much where he's been all season. I'm not surprised to see him in the top 5. I'm not surprised to see him in the top 10. 6 in points. I think it's going to be around where he's going to stay, that 6th to 11th range. So I'm not surprised to see Kirk Bush, performing this well.
Yeah, I was kind of on the fence. Me and you said we were going to react to this live. Me and you didn't plan we didn't write down our answers or none of that kind of stuff. I think you could be on the fence about Kirk, but I like what you said about he's consistently a top 15 driver. And in that sense, he's going to be around this in points. As long as he floats anywhere from 6th to 10th in points. That's kind of what Kirk Bush has always lived in recent memory. So I would agree with you. I think he's making it. I don't know if they're going to run top 5 as often because eventually Ganassi – I don't know. Kirk Bush has been the lead car Ganassi the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. I just applause for Kirk taking that C- equipment and running well with it because when Kyle Larson was Ganassi Racing was terrible. But I think I agree with you. Kirk's making it. He's showing that he's Kirk Bush. He's showing why he still has value. He's won a Cup race the last 2 years. So we'll go with it. Next driver, and that is a driver that I personally really want to see win. Very controversial driver. Probably the most controversial driver in the Cup Series garage, and that's Bubba Wallace. 2311 has been the most hyped up race team. I can't even tell you what the last most, maybe Stewart Haas. Because Tony Stewart threw a big lump of cash with Gene Haas, and they started this race team, and obviously won a championship a couple years later. So Bubba Wallace has kicked off the year with a 17th, a 26th, and a 22nd. The Daytona 500, I believe he had to pit, and then whatever happened or a penalty, I can't remember the situation, but he had to pit under green, lap down. We all know the finish of the 500 and ranted about that, and them just riding around and blowing the biggest race of the year. So he ends up finishing a lap down 17th. Road course, he's terrible at the road course. So you kind of have the excuses out of the way. Then goes to Homestead where you're like, all right, well, if they're some sort of Gibbs car, they're going to have some kind of speed. Pretty much run 20th to 25th all day long, finishes 22nd. Has a 21.7 average finish. I don't have it written down, but he actually had a better average finish. Now, this is throughout the whole season in the 43 car for last year than he does to start off this season. So a lot of variables play into that, but And he sits 15th in points, which is a little bit higher than you think he would be with a 21st average finish, or really a 22nd. So what say you? 23-11. Is this what they're going to be? Which is kind of weird, and I'm going to wait until my turn to kind of feel why this is a weird thing for me. But what say you first? Bubba Wallace, faking it or making it?
All I'm saying is my prediction Trackhouse makes it over 23-11 is looking really good right now. That's all I'm going to say. But it's weird because obviously it's like 500, he blew that. Road courses, he's terrible. On Homestead, he was terrible. Then again, Gibbs as a whole was kind of terrible on Homestead. Really, besides Truex, I think he was really the only competitive car out there.
When I was listening to the radio, Hamlin was in the top 5 for a good chunk of time.
Yeah, but then he finished 11th. And Kyle Busch, I mean, he was trash for most of the day. Christopher Bell was trash for most of the day. So probably a Toyota thing more than anything. I mean, we see that a lot with Toyota. That's something I noticed. With Toyota, it's never really one car struggles. It's more the entire fleet struggles. I remember that at the beginning of the season, you know, where it was like at Vegas, pretty much every Toyota was struggling, minus like one. Same thing with Auto Club, I believe, at Phoenix also. So we see that a lot where it's like Toyota, when they struggle, everyone struggles. So 23-11, I don't think we're going to see them run 20th to 25th every week. I don't think there's going to be the narrative. They're going to get their stuff together, obviously. Vegas is coming up. That's a good track, for them where they can get their stuff together. I believe Bubba Wallace actually finished top 10 last year at Vegas in the 43 car. I believe he finished 6th. So, again, great track for them to, get their feet back, build on that. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing 23-11 run like 20th to 25th every week.
This is the first disagreement we have. And it's a weird disagreement. I'm going to say making it. That this is kind of what we're going to see, and it's weird because I want this to work so bad, and that's what's weird. Is people claim that I'm so biased about certain things, but there's certain things I want to happen, and there's certain things that I believe are going to happen. I want Bubba to go out and win 2-3 races this year. I mean, it's shut a lot of people up that just think he doesn't have talent when I believe he does. But remember, I predicted this team doesn't make the playoffs. So in theory, for me to be right, I kind of have to say, I'm forced in a box to say they're making it. I mean, they're 15th in points. That's borderline making the playoffs. I don't think, if they're going to run better than this, then they'd probably make the playoffs. So I've kind of saw this coming. I think they're going to sprinkle in some top 5s and top 10s here or there. But I don't think this team goes out and shocks the world. I think the average finish gets a little bit better, maybe a 17th, 18th average finish. So I think I've kind of forced myself to be on the making it side because I predicted at the start of the year that this team doesn't make the playoffs. So this is kind of what the narrative that I spoke out loud to myself. So I have to go with it there. We got 2 more drivers left. The next one is a guy that people just swear that I dislike with a passion. When further from the truth, I would much love to see this guy go out and win this weekend. Even the amount of tweets I would receive that would be annoying would be fun to see him win. And that is Matt Benedetto. His first 3 finishes of the year are 33rd, 37th, and 28th. He sits 35th in points and has a 32.7 average finish. So what say you, Matt Benedetto running this terrible, faking it or making it?
Faking it. He's not going to be 34th in points, the entire season. Even though he didn't end the season very well last year, barely limped into the playoffs, out of the first round, he's not going to run 35th all week. That 21 car, it's a satellite team, Penske team. They're going to get their act together. Vegas, we talked about it. 2 straight second-place finishes, a great place for them to finally get their feet back going. However, with this bad of a start, they are in a hole. They're 35th in points. I believe they're like 40 or 50 points out of the playoffs. So track position, starting position is really going to hurt them.
I was thinking that before you said it. And if you didn't say it, I was going to say it. I think I would agree they're faking it. We're not going to see this team run this terrible all year long. But I predicted that they don't win a race. And obviously, we're 3 races in. We've got 23 races. There's a lot of time. But you have already started to dig that hole to where if you have a couple more races like this, you're going to have to win to be – assuming we have a wide variety of winners, you've dug a hole so far that I don't know if you're going to be that top 4 or 5 in points to make it. And so you're going to potentially have to win to lock yourself in, not because you're not in the top 30 in points, but because are you going to have enough points to outpoint those 3, 4, 5 drivers that make it without winning? And so I think that's a very notable point. I would agree, Fakin It. We're going to see this team pick it up. This weekend should be a solid run for that team. But it's been a rough start for Matty D. There's a kind of a lot of hype around him. We kind of know he's kind of auditioning once again. It'll be interesting to see what goes on. And he reminds me a lot of this next driver, another driver I've been very critical on. I answered the question the other day of who the most overrated Cup Series driver is. And I think there's a case it could be this guy. What say you, Ryan Blaney, his first 3 finishes of the year, 30th, 15th, and 29th. He currently sits 24th in points. He seems, obviously we had the Clash. He gets red in the Clash. Daytona 500, he did everything but he saved that car. In true racers books, Ryan Blaney saved his car, got in the grass destroyed his car. There's nothing else he could do. And then so on and so forth. It kind of sort of feels like he's been non-existent the last couple of weeks. What say you, Ryan Blaney, faking it or making it?
Same thing with the Benedetto. We're not going to see him run this poorly. You can't have that much bad luck for that many consecutive weeks, unless you're Kyle Larson in 2019. But he's going to get – we know Blaney, he's going to get that one win. He's probably going to,
Talladega.
More consistent. Yeah, Talladega probably is going to be, chasing Bowman. He's going to be running 25th. All 24 of the cars is going to spontaneously combust, and he's going to go out and win by like 2 feet over Stenhouse again. But we're going to see Blaney, pick it up, obviously. He's with Todd Gordon. He's in a Penske car. He's going to perform. So this is faking it. I mean, Blaney shouldn't worry that much yet. Now, if it continues until like 5 or 6 races where maybe only has like 1 or 2 top 10s, then I'd start being just a little bit concerned.
I would agree with that. And again, this should be a get-right weekend for Ryan Blaney. He's ran very well. Should have won this race last year. Him and Bowman both threw away another win. I would agree with you. I think it's faking it. Ryan Blaney's a better driver than this. That team's a better team than this. That equipment's better equipment than this. It's been a rough start of the year. And what's so weird is, traditionally when we're here, me and you have already been able to see 2 mile-and-a-half races. When you see 2 intermediate races, you kind of have a little bit better picture than a plate race, a road course, and then 1 intermediate that is Homestead that is unlike any other track on the schedule. And so it's been such a unique start of the year. It's still hard to read into what these guys are doing. So I would agree. Ryan Blaney is going to pick up the pace. The Bristol race is no longer a guarantee for him with the Bristol dirt race. But Talladega's coming up, really good plate driver. Martinsville he's ran pretty well at lately. Vegas has been very, a really good place for him as of late. So it'll be intriguing to see what happens. I'm with you. Blaney is going to turn this thing around eventually. Again, like you said, this goes another 2, 3, 4 weeks. You have to start being concerned then, because then he falls in the situation that we just discussed about Matt Benedetto. If you don't get a win, and wins are not easy to come by in the Cup Series, so it's not like a guarantee Ryan Blaney wins. You don't win at some point, you have to start thinking about points. Am I going to have enough points to outpoint other guys if I can't win? So we got a little bit longer road with Blaney on that than the Benedetto, but it'll be intriguing to see. So with that being said, I can't believe it. We always joke about these half-hour, slightly over half-hour shows, but here we are, 35 minutes in, and we're pretty much ready to wrap it up. Now, anything else that you have that you're looking forward to this weekend, or anything else you got going on?
I got nothing. We actually got a quick show-in for one.
We got a quick show-in for one. How about that? Make sure y'all follow along with us at World Racing Media, which is WRM Media Group, or WR Media Group. You got him at Motor Minister on Twitter, me at NASCAR_opinion. If you want to follow along at the dirt tracks I work on, look up Lawrence County Speedway or Lawrence Speedway on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the Livonia Speedway on Facebook for the other track, Livonia. Speedway Livonia. I think it's at Livonia Speedway on Twitter, I believe, and then just Livonia Speedway on Instagram. But anyways, look them up, follow along. The Carolina Sprint Tour. Follow us on stuff like that too. So, yeah, hope everybody has fun. We're going to roll out here. I'm going to go eat a ton of carbs with pizza, pasta, sandwich, all that kind of stuff, and then work out in the morning. Terrible. So, yeah, it'll be great. Y'all have fun. We'll see you next time.